Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Maxin TV. I'm your host, Maxin. We have a special guest for you tonight. We're going to have Matthew Askren. Matt, I hope I got your last name correct. You are the president and general manager of XLNT Bakeries. Stands for XLNT Bakeries, which is absolutely the most genius name I've ever seen. You guys make what's probably going to be world famous Lucie's Hoopie pies. I'm going to put a picture right here. They look unfreaking believable. Moist cake. There's nothing better than a moist cake with the absolute best cream filling. You guys have a proprietary cream filling that was made by Lucie. There is a Lucie out there who actually made this, I believe, with her husband. And you guys are selling them all over America. You guys just started this venture, I believe, last November. And Matt is just a very, very impressive person. He not only was in the Marines for 7 years, I'm pretty sure he sleeps with his eyes open, but he was a plant manager at Smithfield Foods, $16 billion company, huge processor in the meat industry, and he went off on his own, and he's venture capital backed startup that I'm going on record right now to say this company will be a $1 billion company within the next 3 to 5 years. To be honest with you, there's a very good chance that will happen before that, because quite frankly, he's been getting into all these different vendors, such as he launched in cruisers, which they have a chain of gas stations, in other places, Rebel Oil Company, and a lot of different convenience stores, offices all over the place. And it's only starting from here. It's just one product right now, but it's going to expand to all sorts of. This is a food company. Again, I can't really mention some of the things he told me, but he is in the works of dealing with very, very large companies, brands that you see on a daily basis. I only see good things happening to this company. I'm really excited to see the further growth of this company, and I'm privileged to introduce to you Matthew Askren. Hope you guys enjoy. All right, Matt. No, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me, Max. I appreciate the invite, and I think we're going to have an entertaining conversation, if nothing else.
Absolutely. You're just telling me that you're part of the Marine Corps, but when I first asked you to, when on Sunday would you be available, you said 9 o'clock, and that could only mean one of two things. A, you are part of the Marine Corps, or B, you have kids. So you've been up since 6 a.m. at least.
Well, both. I'm not actively a part of the Marine Corps anymore, but once a Marine, always Marine. And
Right.
I do have kids, so that's also part of it. My wife has been negotiating with me for 10 years to sleep later, and I finally capitulated a little bit on that. But so no more 4:30 wake up stuff. But no, I'm still an early riser. I really believe, as corny as it may sound, that you don't get that time back. So while I don't subscribe to a 4-hour night's sleep if I don't have to, I also value that time in the day, so I can get started and I can start knocking off things that I want to do, whether they're professional, personal, anything in between.
100%. And do you make your bed in the morning?
I do.
So if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed.
Even as a married man, I typically make the bed, yes. And my oldest son, he's not very old, but he's 6, almost 7. He makes his bed every morning.
Really? Have you ever not made your bed?
I've to say not made it. I've made it at varying degrees of precision. So it's not like I've left it balled up. I honestly couldn't tell you the last time I did that. Maybe at a hotel where I just left it balled up. But I don't always necessarily go to the full extent of Marine Corps-dom.
My background is getting destroyed right now. I don't know what's flying right now.
I like it.
But yeah.
I think it makes you look extraterrestrial and special.
Okay, thank you. I like to think that myself. I think the only thing special is really you guys. Apparently, you guys are making the absolutely greatest pies there ever was. I did look into it more. I'm like, wow, that looks. Even your description makes me want to have it. Like your super moist cake. You ever say moist cake? I'm interested. You know,
Two moist cakes and a proprietary dairy-based cream. And our tagline is "It's all about the cream." And there's a little bit of a story there that's kind of pertinent, both from just a general conversation standpoint as well as a marketing standpoint. Originally, the tagline was going to be "Try our family recipe," because it legitimately started out as a family recipe of the inventor and founder. But what everybody said as they tasted it for the first time was, "It's all about the cream." And so we were kind of at a crossroads. We already had some marketing materials made, whatever else, to say, "Try our family recipe." But the truth of the matter is the market is saying it's all about the cream. So we've kind of transitioned. It's still all about, or it's still "Try our family recipe," because the folks that invented it, it's their family recipe. But "It's all about the cream" is really where we've migrated from a tagline standpoint.
So when I look into your company, it's XLNT Bakery. What does XNLT stand for, first of all?
So if you say it fast, it sounds like excellent.
Oh, genius.
So, and you know, one of our investment partners came up with it, actually, and we all thought, oh, yeah, that's kind of right. And the goal was, and still is, Lucie's Hoopie Pies is our first offering.
Oh, nice.
Lucie's Hoopie Pies is our first offering. It's our first brand, but it's not all that we do, and it's not all that we're going to do. So we didn't want the company to be Lucie's Hoopie Pies, as great of a product as that is. We wanted something that encompassed more than that, because our goals and our resources dictate that we're going to be more than that. So XLNT Bakeries, and then we present the brand Lucie's Hoopie Pies. We've currently got 3 flavors. We've got red velvet, chocolate cake, and yellow cake. The original recipe was actually yellow cake. You know, red velvet is by far our top seller, which is exciting. That's something that we didn't necessarily see coming. We thought that would have more of a seasonal sales effect. We thought that during winter times, when people kind of think of red velvet, that would be the case. But it's really continued into the spring and now into the summer. So we're excited about that. Chocolate cake and yellow cake, can't go wrong with those. But again, it really comes down to our cream. You know, we're a hoopie pie, not a whoopie pie. I often say that the comparison there is like comparing a Corolla to a Cadillac. You or I would both drive a Corolla or a Cadillac. We would even maybe buy both a Corolla or a Cadillac, but the whole time we would know the difference. So a traditional whoopie pie, something with a frosting base center, something with a marshmallow fluff base center, that's fine. You know, I'm not here to hate on those. But if you taste our premium dessert, the hoopie pie, you'll know the difference from the jump.
So you guys started recently. You guys are only like a year or so old?
Yeah, so the venture was funded about a year ago, and we launched. We had a little bit of a soft launch before that, or right after it was funded. But our official launch was in November, which is when I came on board to serve as the president.
Last November
of 19.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Okay. Well, okay.
So yeah, we launched November of 19, and here we are in the summer of 2020 with all that's going on with the pandemic and everything else. And we have been very fortunate through that process. You know, we've been affected the way that everybody has. But however, we've actually still grown. We just haven't grown to the levels that we would have if it didn't happen. So that level of perseverance for the brand and for the product is very telling. You know, I think it encourages a lot of our new retail partners and our distributor partners that, hey, if they can be adding business while a pandemic's going on and while they're, you know, this started in essentially March, so we were 4 months old, and we can still push through it, and we've got a product that people respond to, and that performs in the marketplace, then all the better. We're also very fortunate that, you know, while we are a family recipe, and while the inventor and the founder of the business are still very involved, actively involved, we are backed by a big firm, and we've got resources that maybe a lot of other startups don't. So not saying that to brag as much as to establish the point that, you know, when it comes to things like scaling up, we're ready. You know, we're ready yesterday. We were ready from the day that we started. But it is a process, especially with the pandemic going on, and you know, it's been a fun ride, and we look forward to seeing what the rest of 2020 has to offer. We've got some big things in store that unfortunately we can't talk about, but that are in the process of happening. And then we think 2021 will even be a bigger year for us.
All I can say is this: if I was running a business, I'd like you to be running it for me. That's for sure. After talking to you for like the first 30 seconds, man, you are ready. Man, you are ready.
Well, that means a
No,
lot, Max. I appreciate it. I know you talk
no,
to a
for
lot of
sure.
people, so to hear that is music to my ears.
Who wears a jacket on Sunday? You know, Sunday in the morning. I mean, like that's a guy I want running my business. You know what I mean? You know
Always
what I
ready.
mean? Yeah, there we go. So how'd you get involved in this business? I mean, you first started in, you were in Smithfield Foods. You
So
were, so obviously
I
you're in
got
the
out of
food
the Marine
business, but yeah.
Corps. I got out of the Marine Corps. First of all, the Marine Corps was a fantastic experience for me. I was in for 7 years. I had a very successful 7 years. But what happened was, I was fortunate enough to be born into a great family where there was great family values and great traits that were kind of internalized in us from birth, essentially. And then I went in the Marine Corps and was fortunate enough where a lot of those values were really cultivated and brought out with the volume turned up, if you will. So when I got out, I was ready to lead. I was ready to hit the ground running. I hit the private sector, got into food manufacturing, started out with Alpha Baking Company, and then migrated to Tootsie Roll, and then to Bake One in Atlanta. And then I ended up at Smithfield Foods, which is a phenomenal company. Anytime I'm interviewed and Smithfield comes up, I have to point out that it's just a first-class organization, and was really happy to be there. But in that journey, I made networking a very important part of the journey. And as you network and as you expand who you interact with, I started to deal with private equity firms and family offices and investors, people of that nature. And the beautiful thing about expanding your reach with those guys is those guys are always looking for opportunities to put their money to work.
Oh yeah.
And when they put that money to work, they typically are looking for well-accomplished, high energy, smart guys or gals to take it and run with it. And so Smithfield, I was a plant manager there, and I really loved my time. But here I had a chance to go and work with these people that I already had a relationship with and lead an entire organization. And can't turn that down. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, in the Reader's Digest version, that's how I got there. But food manufacturing is where I ended up almost on accident. Food manufacturing in general has a similar communication style and a similar overall leadership and managerial atmosphere to the military. So military guys actually do very well in food manufacturing in general.
Sure.
So that was how I ended in there on accident, and I've just ran with it since.
Right. I was actually reading an article yesterday in the Wall Street Journal. It was about all the difficulties that are going on right now in manufacturing meat processing. Because number one, with the whole coronavirus, I don't know, supposedly those are like hotbeds for coronavirus for whatever reason. But it's just very difficult to do without coronavirus, like just to do what they're doing. Even robots, they've been trying to get robots to do it. They can't do what humans can do. So it's a very disciplined field, and it's also a very tough field. I think the turnover rate's like 40 to 60%, I think, right? People last
All
maybe a
that's
year.
true. All of that's true. The meat category is no walk in the park, nor is the baking category or the candy category. They all present their own issues. But if you look at the meat category as a whole, it starts all the way at harvest. Or even before. It starts on somebody's ranch or on somebody's farm, and it has to make it all the way from there to your plate, or if in the food service part of the world, onto your restaurant's plate. So there's a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong in there, and that's why the meat category gets the respect it does, because I can't think of another category that has the volume of opportunities for things to deviate.
Oh, for sure. Everything's variable. Everything's variable. Not one animal is the same, And
if you're going to do so on the meat side, you've got raw meat, and then you've got typically what's called packaged meats, which means that more times than not in packaged meats, the meat is ready to eat. So, for instance, the facility that I ran primarily dealt in pepperoni, salami, and prosciutto. So not only do we have opportunities for it to fail up to it being raw, but then we have an aging process for those dry sausages and prosciuttos that sometimes can go as much as 40 days. So you've got that all these variables, all these opportunities for issues, and it in a lot of ways it really mixes artistry and science. And if you can delve and weave in between both those worlds, you do well. And at the end of the day, human capital beats all capital. So you could have the greatest processes in the world. You could have the best engineering dollars, like you said. People want robots to do what people are doing in a lot of cases. But you've got to be able to train. You've got to be able to deal with, and you've got to be able to grow your human capital and your people. And on the meat side, that can be tough at times because you're always working against the clock. All meat has an expiration date. It's just true. At each stage, it has an expiration date. In the case of dry sausage and packaged meats, you're trying to get as much weight as possible. The longer that it's in an aging process, the more weight it loses, the less opportunity you have to sell it for more money. So you're always against a clock of some sort or another. And that's why the folks in the meat category, they get 2 thumbs up from me. And that's why a lot of what I learned prior to going in the meat category, I was able to use and then refine.
Right. I'm not going to cover meat too much. I want to talk more about the bakery side, but
Sure.
Just one quick question on it, because I did see that article and it was just eye-opening to me. And what would you, how do you recruit? There's a shortage of people. Like, it's also, again, the turnover rate is very high because it's not an easy job. Like, how do you solve this problem, or what would you do to kind of deal with that?
Well, specific to meat, I'll give you my experience from Smithfield, because that was where I worked in meat. Smithfield is able to oftentimes recruit based on the fact of what their track record is with their people. Again, if you talk to majority of people who have done a long time at Smithfield, they have glowing things to say about it. I have nothing. There's no benefit to me talking good about them at this stage if it wasn't true. But I still give them the glowing recommendation. So they can recruit and retain based off things like that. Look at how we treat our people. Look at how we develop our people, especially on the managerial side. They've got programs, short courses through Iowa State University that they send their managers and supervisors through. So education is valued. There's just a bunch of things that they do. They're everybody is bottom line based for sure. But they also put a heavy weight on safety and food safety. And so from my perspective, if you care about my safety and the people that work for me safety, that also goes a long way.
It really does.
So
yeah.
Those are just some of the ways that they can retain and recruit. And it's a $15 billion a year company, and a lot of their competitors are similar size. They didn't get there by not knowing what they were doing. They clearly have a command, and that's how they're able to recruit and retain.
Right. Oh, they only do 15 billion? Okay. Got you.
Yeah,
Got you.
Exactly. Nice problem to have.
I know, absolutely, 100%. So when you look into Lucie, it's Lucie's, not Lucie, not Lucia's, Lucie's.
It's so the inventor of the product is a gentleman named Mark Arant. He's an excellent product developer. His wife, her birth name is Lucinda.
Okay.
So Lucie is a play on Lucinda.
Got you. So he created this product from scratch.
Him and his wife, 25, 30 years ago, they created it as a family thing when he was still working in the food service industry, either for Wendy's or for Bojangles at that time. I can't remember which off the top of my head, because he's spent time at both. Yeah. And it was a family recipe. After he left Bojangles, he got into more into product development for himself. And he's got a laundry list of things that he's created. Lucie's Hoopie Pie is just being one of them. So he met with the firm that ultimately funded this venture, and they were looking specifically to invest in something that was from kind of the family table and bring it to the world. So their missions kind of meshed very well. And I had a pre-existing relationship with that firm that went back a few years. And so it was kind of a natural fit for me to come on board for two reasons. One, because of that relationship, but two, because I specifically had experience in the baking side of the house.
So where did you do baking before?
Alpha Baking and Bake One. Alpha
Gotcha.
Baking is S. Rosen's Hamburger Hot Dog Buns out of Chicago. They got 6 facilities. They're 400 or 500 million revenue a year business. And then Bake One was the manufacturing arm of Atlanta Bread Company, chain of restaurants. So the manufacturing side was a company called Bake One, and I was part of the leadership team there.
That's awesome. So when I actually, coming into this, one question I really wanted to kind of delve into, because when you're dealing with a commodity business or whatever it is, I want to see like what makes you different. I mean, I looked at it, I've never seen it. Like, it's definitely different. And I thought your product was going to be a lot smaller. It's actually not that small at all. It's actually
4 ounces.
Pretty,
it's a big
it's
product.
actually pretty big. Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of get a sense like it's definitely different. Like, what do you have to say about that? Like, what's your real moat going into it and kind of branching out and kind of growing? I feel like I'm talking to you at like the very beginning stage. Like, I feel like this is going to be like $1 billion company eventually, honestly.
Well, I appreciate that. And that's, we see it as having legs to go in brand after brand. We could have 4 or 5 brands or 4 or 5 segments of the business. Again, today, 7 months in, we're 1 brand, 3 flavors. But our goal is to have other items, some that may be premium desserts, some that may be convenient grab and go, shelf stable type products. Some that could be food service, some that you wouldn't necessarily think that we would have interest in or be a part of. We want to really diversify and go where the business takes us and where the relationships takes us. But this product here what separates us is that we're a premium dessert, whereas the other items that are similar to it tend to be value buys. They tend to be lower quality. You just grabbing it because you needed something this is something that, you grab it because you needed something, but man, you go in and have your lunch and this on top of it, and you're like, what did I just have? This is insane. Or you go into a convenience store to grab a coffee and you say, I want something that'll hold me over. You pick this up and you're like, oh my, what did I just get myself into? I was expecting A and I got Z.
Right.
And so that's been where we've benefited. We see ourselves going into the grocery category, which is not something that we have done a lot of yet. And in the grocery category, it could be used for individual birthday cakes. It could be used for parties. It could be used for anything, for family gatherings. You pull open the top of it, you cut it in 4 squares. Everybody gets a square, and you can share all 3 flavors.
For that though, would you make it bigger or like kind of the same size it is now?
Well, for something like that, we'd probably go with a multi-pack or a club pack, which we have in development. We currently don't have those at the market because we don't have a customer for them yet, but we've got 2-pack and 4-pack that are just waiting.
Right, because me, where I come from, we like to eat,
Yeah.
We like to eat, especially good stuff.
There's nothing wrong with that. And so for your family, you buy a 4-pack, all right? It's got all 3 flavors. It's probably got 2 of one of the flavors. You cut them into quarters, and at the end of it, it's as if everybody had a full hoopie pie, but you got to indulge on all 3 flavors.
Speaking of that, I'm actually going to my niece's birthday party later today. So speaking of that, I'm telling you, my mouth is watering. It really does look good. And when you were mentioning about, you thought red velvet was going to be a seasonal thing. For whatever reason, I always gear towards the red velvet. I think it's the color. Like, people just go towards it's red. Like, I don't know. I personally think if you were to compare taste between chocolate and red velvet, I'll pick chocolate. But every time you'll put the 2 in front of me, I'll pick a red velvet because it's red. I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that you guys realize that this is a 12-month-a-year product. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, we think that's exactly what it is. We think that the red pops, and then it's got the cream next to it. So you have that white and the red together. It gives it the contrast. Not to give away too many of our deep dark thoughts, but if you go into a grocery refrigerated case, a lot of times the red velvet, you don't even see the red because it's got so much frosting over the cake. You don't really see the red until you cut into it. We want the opposite. However, if you happen to be a grocer out there and you're watching this and you want a red velvet product with frosting on it, reach out to us and we'll develop one for you. We want to give people what they want, but in terms of the Hoopie pie, we believe that is a benefit to us. That color contrast will gravitate towards it.
I also think from a taste perspective, it's more enjoyable when the frosting is on the inside because it's like an explosion in your mouth. If you just put the frosting on top, it's more like, okay, you just had the frosting like almost separately. Now you're eating this bland cake, whatever it is.
It's all about the cream.
Yeah. So where do you see this going from here? Like what's do you guys ever look at yourselves as like selling directly to a customer, like shipping your product or anything of that nature?
We're not opposed to that, but that's a dynamic thing because we are a product that's distributed frozen and it's sold out of a cooler. So if you look at the costs involved, it's tough to mass produce a product and then sell it at that price. It doesn't mean we can't do it. We're actively trying to find a solution that makes sense for that. Right. But if there's just there's also a lot of variables with that logistical process. Sure. Not to talk good or bad about any of the logistics carriers that are doing direct to home shipping. Not trying to plug or tear down any of them, but you're then giving your product to them to potentially have an issue with. And so if you have our awesome Hoopie pie and it gets left on a porch for 6 hours,
not good.
Now you just spent that exorbitant price to get it shipped to you, and now you're dissatisfied and you may not want to try us again. So when you do go into a convenience store and you see it for a relatively fair price, you're still not going to want to try it. And we don't want that. So I'm giving you a long-winded answer, but we want to do it. And we're actively seeking a way to do it. We just haven't found the right way yet.
Right. No, it makes 100%. It makes 100%. Makes a lot of sense. Of course. Listen, I sold like thousands of products just for my dorm room. So yep. I understand shipping. I actually was working for a big distributor for electronics, and I told them you cannot ship TVs, period, because the problem is that they ship the TV, gets to the customer, it's broken. Bottom line, broken. And so when the second they sign off on it, they are essentially saying the carrier is not liable to the damage. So who's liable? We are. Yeah. And then they go, if you saw on Amazon, which they were selling a lot of, we're essentially like a lot of the time they'd get left with a bill for $2,500 per TV, like however. So I very much understand the logistics. So from right now, what is your biggest challenges in the business to grow? Is there any, recruiting people to grow your business? What's the biggest challenge for you now?
So right now, our biggest challenge, and it's not something that we can't work through and aren't working through, but it's the pandemic. Naturally, a lot of whether they be grocers, C-stores, food service, you name it, they are right now a little bit risk averse based on what's going on in the market, and we are new. So we've got to be able to articulate and show people that we can perform, which we do. And we've got to be able to show them that, hey, this is a quality product. Once we get it to them, once they say, hey, give us a sample, they try it, they learn that. But even 6 months ago, people were significantly less risk averse. And again, I'm talking about corporations now, essentially, not individual people, or even the people that work at them. Just kind of the overall feel is we don't want to take that a leap on anything at the moment. And it's that uncertainty that we're fighting against. And another section of that is that the pandemic happened right around the time of trade show season, which was going to give us a great opportunity to get in front of a lot of those people. And those trade shows did not happen, or did not happen the way that they would have. So that was another barrier that we're climbing through. But the beautiful thing, as we talked about earlier, I don't remember if we were on camera or if we were taping already at this point, but despite all of that, we're actually still growing. So it's not like it's stopping us. It's just another barrier to navigate through or around. The Marine in me says, I want to go right through it. And then if I can't go through it, then I'll go around it. Sometimes we've got to be a little bit more strategic than that.
Yeah. If you can't go through it, you use a bazooka. Yeah. So I was going to ask you, I'm like, so, For anyone to get any product in any store is extremely challenging. This is not an easy thing. It just seems like every day on LinkedIn you're posting about getting into another chain store. That's not easy to do. Like, is that coming from trade shows you've done? How have you been able to get into stores? Or you literally just like try one of our pies and they're like, why aren't we selling these?
It's a mix of all that. So I have contacts in the industry. The founder of the company has his own contacts in the industry. We've got a really strong broker network, that provides us with the credibility to get in front of certain people. Some of the times it's as simple as, hey, I tried it, it's amazing, get me some now. And we're nimble and agile. So we can do things that other people can't from a agility standpoint, because we know that once we get your product to your distributor, and once your distributor gives you our product, that it will do well. We know that for a few reasons. One, because we know it's a good product. Two, because we see what it's doing when it gets into places. Three, because we're going to commit to executing in terms of merchandising, in terms of social media marketing, in terms of whatever it takes. We've got the resources to do that. Unfortunately, everybody in this business doesn't have those things. We do. We're committed. So that really helps. But having a strong group of contacts, having a strong broker network, really going down the line goes a long way. And then at the end of the day, having a product that people like makes a big difference.
100%.
So I appreciate what you're saying about what we're able to put out there on LinkedIn or on other social media platforms, because we love being able to celebrate. If you give us a reason to celebrate, we will. And you look at groups like Rebel out on the West Coast,
right.
They've given us a great reason to celebrate. So we're going to make sure to let the world know about it. Then on top of that, we tend to get good responses when we let things out, because we've built genuine, authentic relationships with people, and that shines through on social media.
Right. So I'm going to guess, anytime I've been in an office setting and there was a celebration, we would have a cake. I'm assuming you guys just celebrate with your own stuff, right? But it's like straight out of the oven type stuff, like right downstairs.
Well, it would be straight out of the freezer.
Got you.
Just because but yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's the fresh, beautiful, prettiest one possible.
Could you make a cake in the shape of my face? Is that possible?
I could.
Or you could?
I could.
Wow. Okay. Great.
We can. So this is the beautiful thing about what we've got going on is, again, Lucie's Hoopie Pies is a brand, but XLNT Bakeries will one day have many brands.
Right.
If there is a retail partner, a distributor, a food service partner that has an idea and they want it to be R&D, they want it to be developed, come to us. We're happy to make it happen. That requires a commitment and some other things, but nonetheless, we're open for business. Put us to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So the fact that your cake is more of a premium product, it costs $2.99, but that probably brings in more revenue overall to the business, right? As opposed to the 99-cent budget, whatever, blueberry pie that nobody wants anyways.
So that's actually in a lot of ways that benefits us with some of our retail partners,
right?
Because if you're thinking about bringing us in or somebody else in, and we can do the same amount of sales, we're going to give you that higher top line growth. We're going to give you that higher number at the register. And in the convenience store market right now, they're having some struggles because people aren't going to the pump as much, because people aren't all going to work.
Right.
And then getting people from the pump into the store, they want to maximize that dollar once they get in.
Sure.
And the third component to that is, if you charge a certain amount and people walk away disappointed, then it wasn't worthwhile. But in our case, the feedback over and over is that both the customer, which is the retail partner, and the consumer, which is their customer, are walking away happy. So you can walk out with a larger purchase and the customer's happy. Everybody wins.
Right. How do you know when the customer's happy or not? Is it based on how many you sold? Like, it must be that people are liking this product, or is there another way that you guys kind of figure that out?
Well, we do focus groups. We do market tests. Performance is a good indicator of that. But also with social media now, the ultimate consumer has a voice to us. So the feedback that we're getting is overwhelmingly positive. And if you think about that on social media, I don't think I'm telling a secret when I say that there's some folks that can be nasty, that are just looking for an opportunity to not be happy. And we're still getting overwhelmingly positive feedback.
You're even getting the negative people to be positive.
That's
all they
in
needed
some
was
cases,
a pie.
yeah.
That's all they needed was a pie. I mean, you can probably solve the world's problems with your pies.
I wouldn't go that far, but we're happy to be a part of making people happy. You know, when I started in this business, my first plant manager told me, he said, at the end of the day, everybody's got to eat. He said, and we can take solace in the fact that we're helping put food on people's tables. And that has stuck with me now for all these years. You know, another guy that I worked with at Smithfield, Tim Sheets, who's a phenomenal leader, and one day will be a C-suite guy, whether it's at that company or another company. And Tim Sheets used to always talk about the benefit and the pleasure that he took in being able to be a part of a family meal, or being able to be a part when the holidays came. You know, at Smithfield, so many of their products are enjoyed, whether it be, you know, the dry sausage as an appetizer, or the ham on the plate. So, you know, you'll find people in our industry, the most successful people in our industry, really do take pride in being a part of the fabric of America and our holidays and our traditions, because the idea that you're going to celebrate and eat our product touches them.
100%. And so what's next for you guys? Like, I know you probably can't give out whatever you guys are working about. Is there anything you can kind of give me, like kind of hints to what you're doing?
Well, we've got about 9 products that are in development. I can tell you that some of them are shelf stable, meaning that they don't need to be refrigerated. Some of them are similar to the Hoopie pie in that they're a refrigerated or frozen item. We've got other things in development that I can't talk about, but just trust me, you would not expect them from me. And that's fine. We are happy to be
you mean like non-dessert item, you're saying, or
we have capabilities to do just that. I can't go too much further.
I don't doubt you doing anything. I think you have the capabilities to do anything. But I mean, you would do something totally separate from dessert, or that's something you guys?
We're happy to. We're at the end of the day, we are a food company.
Yeah.
So we're happy to provide what our retail partners want, and you know obviously there's certain things that go into that, meaning that we're not necessarily actively creating things that people aren't asking for. But if you've got a food item that you want a turnkey solution on, give us a call and we'll make it happen. We've got the contacts, we've got the skill sets, we've got the capital. Let's make it happen.
That would be a great LinkedIn post.
We all
just
can
ask
win that
people
way.
what they want. Yeah, that would be a great LinkedIn post. I'm sure you get like 1,000 comments immediately on what they want.
And you know, we've got to be a prudent business, so we've got to separate from, you know, it doesn't always sound the greatest, but we've got to separate from what sometimes the end item customer wants and what the retail partner wants.
Of course.
And because otherwise we have 196 SKUs and we would have retail partners taking 9 of them.
Right.
So our interest is, if you've got a product that you want developed and you're a retail partner, or you're a distributor, or you're a food service partner, give us a call. We'll make it happen for you. We'll give you a turnkey solution. You'll be satisfied. Your consumers will be satisfied. And at the end of the day, we can build on that so that you can come to us at a later date with something that is like a Hoopie pie, and we'll knock it out of the park with that too.
Here we go.
Let us build that relationship with you.
Is that kind of how it all started? Like, you saw that there needed to be some sort of change in the marketplace, and you wanted to get to just make a more premium product as opposed to the budget product. It's got to be better. Is that really how this all started? And then you're just going to go back to your retailer and say, like, hey, what do you see out there that you think, you know, that would be better? That's something that you're what are they looking for exactly? Like, is that how this all works essentially?
That's very similar to how it works. So we build the relationship typically with the Hoopie pie, because it is a fantastic product, and it is something that's different. The goal is that people see the Hoopie pie, they take the Hoopie pie, and then when they need something else, they come to it. Or even if they say, worst case scenario, they say, you know what, the Hoopie pie was fantastic, but for whatever reason, it's just not a fit today. because of X, because of Y, because of Z. But if you can make this, which our market research that we've invested money into tells us would be great, we've got a spot in our store for you, or in our line for you, and then we'll make it happen. We're all about serving and satisfying the customer and the consumer. You know, and there is a process that goes there, again, like we talked about. You've got to be prudent. You can't just develop 196 products and only have 9 of them, you know, on the shelves. You know, so our interest is, hey, our core competency is a Hoopie pie, but that's not our only competency. We can literally do whatever you need.
Of course. I was speaking to a couple of executives, and they actually are involved in a product that is specifically to go into retail. Like, for example, when people sell online, you know, all of that is tracked. Like, people track everything from the time you click on a link, from the time you put something in your cart. Did you abandon your cart? Did you buy it? How long did it take? Like, everything online is done, like, everything is tracked. Nothing is tracked in retail. The only thing you see, you don't see how many people walked in, you don't see how many people passed your product. The only thing you see is, did your product sell or not? How many sold? How many didn't? Is that something that you see? I'm starting to see, like, this is really getting ramped up. Do you have you seen anything like this, or is this something like could be truly of benefit to not only the retailer but to you who's making the product? Like, you want to know, did someone pick up my product, look at it, and put it down, or did they just, like, doesn't even take a second for them to snatch it and buy 10, 15 of your units, which probably happens, to be honest. But what do you see about that?
Well, in terms of data, we ask our convenience store partners, and some are, you know, more than happy to give the information. Some like to keep it closer to the vest, and again, I don't blame them; they have their reasons. But one of the metrics that we talk about is how many people did you have at the pump that day? How many people went from the pump that actually made a purchase? And then we look at how we did as a percentage of that.
Oh, wow.
And so that's an option that we've got that would be most comparable to what you're talking about. It's not the exact same thing, but it provides a similar level of information, because that helps you with things like forecasting, both on the convenience store side, but also on our side, because we have to have a forecast for how we're going to do and what we're going to need. And that's the type of data that we find beneficial. We can analyze things 6 or 7 different ways, just like everybody else. So those are the numbers that we find interesting on the convenience store side. On the micro market side, which is a large part of our business, which is office canteens, refrigerated vending, it's nice to know how many people are in that, or how many people does that office service. So how many employees are in that office or in that plant? Because it's presumable that that's your captive audience that you have an opportunity to sell to. You don't have an opportunity in a micro market. You don't have an opportunity to sell to somebody that doesn't work there or wouldn't be there.
Right.
So you want to know that data, and then you can compare it to what was sold. For us, product placement is a big deal. Our product does best when it's in an open air cooler, typically next to the sandwiches or by the coffee. If we're in the back right corner of the store with the beverages, we can operate that way. But that's not premium for us. That's not optimal. So we want to know that, because that helps us figure out why numbers are what they are.
Right.
So those are the type of metrics that we look for, the type of data that we strive to receive. And for those partners that are willing to share that stuff with us, it's phenomenal. It only helps us. For those that aren't willing to share that with us, again, we are comfortable that they're smart enough that they have their reasons for why they don't want to do that. We still will try to find a way to get it from them, but if they don't, you can't make them.
It's really amazing that that's a metric you are looking at. And I'm just gonna comment here that puts you on another step up, because I've had, not on this show that hasn't been recorded, but I had a separate conversation with someone who is legitimately the CEO of a very well-known brand, like big brand, publicly traded company. They do not know how many people walk into their store, period. I feel it's very difficult to operate, because I feel like it's a very important stat. You guys already, it seems like you guys want to know how many people came to the pump, how many people bought. That's, I think, just going to put, that I think is like another moat for you, because I don't think a lot of the brands that you're selling in the same store, I don't think they're doing that, you know?
Well, then hopefully they're watching Maxin TV and they'll see
There
it.
you
Or
go.
maybe hopefully that for that 5 minutes, our competitors had it on mute.
There we go. Just the next question, which is the most important question: when are you coming to Miami? Not
So
just
we
you
have
with a
been,
pie.
absolutely. So we have been in conversation to break into Florida for a while.
Okay.
I say a while, you know, we're a young company, so it's all relative.
Right.
But we believe Florida is a good market for the product, if for nothing else, because what's nicer on a hot day, which Miami has a million of them, than a nice premium dessert, especially to break up the middle of the day. If you're working hard and you want to grab lunch at a convenience store or grocery store, and you grab something like that, it's a great way to combat that heat and humidity. And if it's a rainy day, which Miami also has a lot of, it's also kind of nice to comfort yourself. So we've been in talks with various Florida groups. We have not pulled the trigger yet. We anxiously await that opportunity because we know that it will be good. The majority of our Florida contacts so far have been in the northern part of the state.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that we wouldn't migrate down to Miami. But
Sure.
the way that it normally works, for better or for worse, is you get one customer in a state, and then other customers in the state, retail partners, things like that, hear about you, and then they want a piece of it.
Sure.
So, you know, all it's going to take in Florida is us getting a hold of one of the handful that we're in discussions with, and then we believe that we're going to be littered throughout the Sunshine State.
Do you get into a lot of, because I feel like, you know, when you're dealing especially with big chain places, everything comes down to like pennies, everything nickel and dime. Have you been dealing with a lot of nickel and diming type stuff? Because at the end of the day, you're a premium product. Like, you're not at the same price as I don't want to name names, but
Sure.
is that actually an issue? Like, if you wanted to go into McDonald's, I don't know if that is something that you guys are trying to plan to or talking to, but I'm sure McDonald's wants to get this for like 2 pennies or something. I don't know, because of their scale. Is that something you have to deal with? Has that been a problem?
Not a ton, because the folks that you're talking about, the big box retailers, the large corporation food service types, they're going to pull at a volume that is going to allow us to scale. And when you can
Right.
scale, things get easier.
Sure.
It's not been a huge conversation. Look, we're in talks with very large partners. Again, I'm not. I don't want to jinx us, and also it wouldn't be.
Sure.
They probably wouldn't be
No pressure here.
elated about us breaking the news before they can. But
Right.
but XLNT Bakeries is in talks with at least 3 major partners, and you know, for the volumes that they pull, it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can do things in a way to make it so that it makes sense for everybody. But you have to have that volume, and that's, again, not to belabor the point, but that's where our resources come in. Because we are well funded, well capitalized, well resourced, to do business with a big partner or a small partner, we can pull things off that maybe other people can't. You know, we don't blink when somebody says that we would need you to be able to get into X number of DCs. We say, great, we welcome that opportunity, because if you can get us into X number of DCs, we've got whatever resources we need to get there. You know, we're financially prudent, so we're not doing that just because we're doing that for an opportunity. But nonetheless, we've got those there, and we're happy to make that happen.
Well, as I said before, if I was running a company, I'd want you to be at the helm, because clearly you know what you're doing and you have a track record of doing it. So I applaud you for that. And again, thank you. Number one, I didn't say this yet. Thank you very much for your service. For guys like you, I'm able to kind of do Maxin TV to begin with. Otherwise, we'd all be screwed, you know? So
Well, I appreciate that.
No, absolutely. And plus, you bring a smile to everyone's faces, because, I mean, I never even tried your product. I saw it through a computer screen, and just looking at it wants me. I want to have it. So I honestly can't wait until you guys start selling in South Miami. eventually, or I'll eventually just fly out to one random place, stop at a C store, have your product, and come back.
Hey, you know what? We're about to launch in Vegas.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten the purchase order, so
yeah.
I can actually talk about that. We're launching.
Yeah.
We're launching with Rebel Stores in Vegas.
Right.
So who doesn't like Vegas?
Right. I still haven't been there yet. I need to go.
Well, I'm going to be there when we launch, which we don't have a firm date for the retail launch. We've got a date for when it's going to the distributor. It's probably going to be the end of this month or beginning of next month. I will be there for the execution of that launch. And nice. If you would like, I can take pictures for you.
All right, I appreciate it.
You won't trust me when I tell you. There are people that can't get enough of Vegas, and there are people that have been once and was like, that was great, but that's enough. But I don't know anybody that has gone and is like, yeah, that's a waste of time.
Yeah, me neither. And well, anyways, I really appreciate you coming on. This was one of my best interviews ever, for sure, by far. This was great. I feel like you're going to be on CNBC in a couple months, or something like that.
From your lips to God's ears.
I've been hearing a lot. Yeah. So anyways, I just wanted to thank you very much for coming on the show. I learned a ton. Hopefully other people will learn as well. And I appreciate it. Thanks again.
Wonderful. Thanks, Max.
Absolutely.